urban hip hop from the 90s to early 2000s, mid 2000s to now. In my own perspective, especially from the mid 90s towards early 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in those times, I'd have to say from sessions in terms of in town, in clubs like Manelis during the day, it moved into a place where we had to change to other venues, now do night gigs instead of like during the day type things. And all of a sudden now, guys from doing routines and songs, it got focused more into live elements of it, like, you know, the band, there started to be a band, like Fist of God. This is around 2002, 2003, around that time, if I'm not mistaken, or if it's not 2001, 2, 3, that time. And then, like, you know, guys started getting booked for festivals, you know, which is a huge thing at the time, you know. Funnily enough, for people who don't know, at the time, the manager of BFG, which is Big Fucking Guy, back then it was a Black Fist of God, BFG. So that's how the progression moved into what we know now as BFG. You know, so it's basically a progression. It just morphed into something else. So, like, you know, for people who think BFG just came out now, surprise. Anyway, that moved a lot of other people to come into the scene, like new MCs as well coming in.
What moved people?
Basically, there was a sort of a shift in a sense, or a progression from like I've said, like from daytime hip hop sessions into now we have to take into mind that a lot of those people who are attending those kind of sessions were students, you know, from varsity, tech, high school, and who have graduated to become, you know, young people to go into tertiary universities. So now, in a sense, the daytime thing wasn't hip for them, you know what I mean? Like, so it's people who are going to nights, and so now there's more audiences in a sense, or there's more perspectives in terms of people coming into the scene to come and enjoy the music. People who listen to hip hop on their own, and they're realizing there's actually other people out there who are listening to this type of music, and so that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that there was like a shift, you know. My check had moved from being a night event into a day event to a night event. There were other people who were organizing shows. There was a Naba at the time, which was like huge. Castle had moved in to sponsor that, and it was happening at the bedside. It was pulling crowds like crazy, like how earlier house events were like the Devil's Finest Theatre and Songs. They used to do these weekly events. They pulled like cars like crazy. So now hip hop was doing that. So it moved into like you have into an event, instead of playing maybe a lot of Redman, you know, all these underground type sounds, you'd have a lot of what you hear on radio now being played into hip hop shows, and there wasn't a lot of b-boying or spray can arts type of, you know, just like rappers, and, you know, that type of approach, you know. They were even like booking artists who are on radio, which wasn't new actually, because Specs came into Specs from Rhymes and Rose. I don't know if you know that Specs, the first South African hip hop act to actually, I don't want to say signed. This is before Amu. This is right after POC was like big, but like the first solo artist to come in as a solo artist through that Specs came through. Rhymes I Wrote, his first album. Actually, he was booked on Mic Check, those daytime events, came through, did his thing proper, much respect. And so now, from that type of thing, it moved on to a more nights event. It was quite big, and in a sense, in a sense, you know what I mean? More DJs came in, you know what I mean? More MCs came in. It was just like, but it was all basically performance based. No recording music. It was just all about trying to get on the mic and rap. It wasn't business. You know what I mean? Funnily enough, double back a couple of years back in those daytime events, Lebo and Sia, who is Slicker and Sugar Smacks, they used to come through selling yellow tapes or red tapes of their squatter camp. Any pre-cutted joint before that.
They'd come from Joburg
to Durban.
Okay.
Because they've been entrepreneurs. Yeah, they've been entrepreneurs for years. Like people might not see them in that sense, but they had already been traveling and selling their stuff. Getting a taxi and going to Durban because they heard maybe there's sessions there. They go and sell their stuff. So that was back forward again. So that's basically the movement of Durban in a sense. And then there was more rappers, more use of language, to develop a style that is authentically. But that the style wasn't exposed on radio and things like that. But it was ripe and it was fire. You know what I mean? When H2O came in, no disrespect, they were good in their setting, but there was more fire here like that in that type of thing. It was head splitting, like crazy. But there was no record companies, there were no beat makers, there were no small record companies to put. There was not even that mind frame in a sense of, because there was no infrastructure to even have that in your mind to see how you're gonna, As a result of that movement of night events and a lot of MCs coming in, Zulu Boy got discovered in that session.
Where? Okay.
On a Pro Kid launch, because Pro Kid now was doing, vernacular rhymes, which is
on the national scene.
On a national scene, and also it was dope, So, in that launch, Zulu Boy got discovered, rapping, and it started growing in that sense. A lot of booze, a lot of girls, a lot of hip hop, commercial music like Puffy or whatever is popular, and a lot of rappers coming in for the mic, for the open mic thing. It was like very thick and drunk and blinding and lovely for young people looking for a nightlife. It was that type of
a party life event.
It's a party. It was a party type. It's a party. Great party. It was that type of thing. Though, like, in that whole thing, there were other, hip hop things that were happening, or bubbling under poetry circles in the Bad Center. That was actually around the same time when the nowadays poet was being formed, around that time, or a little bit earlier. Around that time, good writers came there. A lot of great writers that went on. They left the city. Like how I was saying, if you've been around Durban for a long time and you can see, it's almost like it's not really, but it's almost like replicas of. I used to know someone like that, like a long time ago. He was that type of personality, who had that type of a poetry. Who was like fire, and also this young person right now is, like, you actually keep seeing similarities. Like, so it's like a cycle. There's a lot of people, man. Like there's a lot of, like, in the early stages, people like Kanye from Mawazumi, you know him. Kanye's from Zimbabwe, lives in Cape Town now. I mean, because he struggled very hard to make that whole thing happen, the mic check. Well, it wasn't really a solo effort, but it was a solo effort in a sense. Like we can sit and decide, but one person will be passionate enough to follow through about something like that. So when people like Untiga for Imrawa, those parties, he was like one of those MCs, not in a sense of rapping, but the host, like, he held the show like this. His DJ is there, that were there, that kept it moving. Like people like Ewok, Tash, like, man, like, it's been like a revolving door of a lot of people who've been part of that whole thing. Ayanda now, Bon Hasla, like, there's a lot of people like who keep, giving their lives. You can see it by the way every month or every week they keep coming with ideas to try and get people together. Even now, people might not see it like, but they actually giving their lives into that thing. To a certain degree, some people might have a wrong idea about what's going on, but people get in there and do it every month and every week, so there's a lot of people to even try and mention, like Zulu Boy put the city on the map with his, passion and, his writing and his, his way of doing things. The being of those, yes. The being of those.
But on a national scale now.
That's another chapter now. Like as people get exposed to the internet, to get exposed to Banban entertainment or Banban CC, those kind of companies, entrepreneurship, all those angles of progression in the music as an